and the University of Nairobi fraternity, civil society representatives and non-governmental organizations, the Special Envoy, Dr. Ali, Environmental Envoy, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good people, good morning. It is a great honor to give a keynote address at this groundbreaking Nairobi Environmental Diplomacy Symposium. This symposium is a first of its kind, bringing together rich expertise from across a spectrum of stakeholders. This symposium is a game changer. It explores critical environmental matters that are timely and much needed, including creating public awareness on the key global engagements in environmental diplomacy and sustainable development. It will review the outcomes of the latest environmental conferences, taking a proactive stance of providing information on the Pact of the Future and the 7th session of the Environmental Assembly, UNEA 7, scheduled to take place at the UNEP headquarters in Nairobi later this year, as we have heard from previous speakers. The strong presence of leading players in environmental diplomacy here today is a testimony to the timeliness and significance of this symposium. This is an affirmation of our unwavering commitment to the environmental agenda and momentum. Nairobi is a renowned citadel of environmental diplomacy, particularly due to its position as a home to the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, and UN Habitat. The city also hosts a robust presence of the diplomatic, scientific, academic, and civil society community active in the field of environment. Accordingly, I acknowledge with thanks the strong presence of various presidencies of COPs and other notable environmental diplomacy leadership here represented by their embassies in Kenya. These missions were instrumental in making the organization of this inaugural symposium a success. There is need to tap into the full potential of the large presence of these organizations to provide global leadership on environmental matters. Therefore, this symposium will not be an end in itself. It is the beginning of a series of robust symposia on environmental matters that will be held after every 4 to 6 months here in Nairobi. It is a long-held principle that as humans engage in development and advancement of their standards of living, they should not do this at the expense of the environment. Here, we all remember the compelling theme, making peace with nature, during the COP16, to the Rio Conventions of Biological Diversity held in Colombia. Indeed, the global economy also expanded, becoming more integrated and creating new frontiers for investment, jobs, and wealth. Technological advancement and innovation are now making life more convenient and livable by unleashing new possibilities in areas previously unimagined. However, these rapid development programs have also come with some costs to the environment and the society. Global warming is at its all-time high, with the World Meteorological Organization cautioning that 2024 recorded 1.55 degrees Celsius, the highest average global temperature increase since pre-industrial time. Still, however, negotiations under climate change are fraught with several challenges. many states still prioritize economic growth over environmental sustainability, and the incremental cost of transitioning to a low-carbon development pathway is a matter of great concern. The current nationally determined contributions targets are insufficient to keep the global temperature rise below the 1.5 degree Celsius in line with the Paris Agreement. Getting adaptation on track is needed, and so is the implementation of the agreement secured on carbon markets. The global biodiversity is experiencing massive decline due to habitat destruction, invasive species, overexploitation, pollution, and climate change. Consequently, since the 1970s, the animal populations have dropped by up to 68%. The latest report of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystems Services indicates that about 1 million species are currently threatened with extinction. Biodiversity loss is upsetting the natural balance, with the possibility of causing irreversible consequences detrimental to all forms of life. The world must take corrective actions, without which a catastrophic sixth mass extinction event could occur in the not too distant future. Endemic and cyclic environmental risks, such as land degradation, desertification, and drought, are getting worse. Up to 40% of the world's land is now degraded, directly impacting 3.2 billion people. Droughts have increased in frequency and intensity by 29% since 2000. It is projected that by 2050, 3/4 of the global population could be affected by meteorological, agricultural, and hydrological and socioeconomic droughts. The world should raise its ambition and accelerate restoration of degraded lands to achieve land degradation neutrality by 2030. We should restore soil health and scale up nature-positive food production. This is more important for our continent, where agriculture continues to be the backbone and the command factor of most African economies. The world needs suitable policy options for land restoration, drought resilience, and green transition through people-centered approaches that address all facets of drought issues. The global community should develop a drought protocol to complement climate and biodiversity solutions. Pollution and wastes remain a serious problem. An estimated 7 billion tons of plastic waste is circulating in the environment, yet the world continues to produce over 460 million metric tons of plastics each year. Under a business-as-usual scenario, this is projected to generate plastic waste of between 23 to 37 million metric tons by 2040. I recognize the ongoing efforts and the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee established by UNEA Resolution 514 to develop an international legally binding instrument to end plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. There is no doubt that the global community has recognized this ballooning challenge and is undertaking various actions to promote circularity and, in some cases, ban of single-use plastics like we have done in Kenya. I urge all of us to work together to galvanize sufficient momentum needed to achieve consensus on the most sensitive issues. Ladies and gentlemen, environmental challenges continue to pose dire consequences on life and sustainable development. They deter sustainable economic growth and development. The various environmental conferences held last year and many more scheduled this year underscore the global interests and desire to address these challenges in an effective and timely manner. There is urgent need to continue mobilizing all stakeholders to address climate change, biodiversity loss, land degradation, desertification, and drought, as well as to end plastic pollution. Some of the significant challenges include weak political, economic interests that override social and environmental protection, technological limitations, and unstable international cooperation informed by geopolitical and geoeconomic tensions, as well as differing national interests. Therefore, today's all-inclusive platform aims to review the major outcomes of the environmental meetings held last year, facilitate free exchange of ideas, and offer suggestions on how the world should proceed for positive impact. I therefore commend the State Department for Foreign Affairs, led by P.S. Singoi, the Kenya Foreign Service Academy, and the University of Nairobi, and most importantly, the Stockholm Environment Institute Africa Center, for conceiving and executing this wonderful idea. And definitely, I will not forget the Ministry of Environment. Finally, I would like to crown it all by launching a legacy publication on Kenya's environmental diplomacy over the last 60 years of independence. This book has benefited immensely from a diverse range of authors and tells different stories of Kenya's engagement on the international environmental space. I wish to thank all the authors that responded to the call for the manuscripts. I thank you. Mr. P.S. Singoi, you made me feel guilty when I came up here, when you said that the economists are culprits. And the problem is that I'm both an economist and a politician. So these two seem to have a problem in coming in one bundle and creating a lot of problems all over. But however, maybe there are some good things I can share with the members here. First, let me pick up on the issue of resource mobilization. Let me take this opportunity to make it official. You will recall that last year, President Ruto hosted, in conjunction with the World Bank, the IDA 21 replenishment conference here in Nairobi, where there were several heads of state, including the current AUC, African Union chairman, the president of Mauritania. Ladies and gentlemen, that effort, that convention was able to rally, which has now become official from the World Bank, an excess of $100 billion as the IDA 21 replenishment to help support the IDA recipient countries, which are close to 75 or slightly more globally. And this perhaps becomes a very good forum so that the conversations that you come up with can help in enriching the use of those resources so that they are directed to environment-friendly programs in all these 75 countries. I think that is a very, very significant development. And I would really want to urge all of us to see the significance of having a very robust diplomatic initiative and engagement with other countries, because it is through that kind of arrangement that Kenya's leadership, in conjunction with other partners and friendly countries, have able to rally the global community to raise these resources. That is a very significant development. The other thing that I may want to perhaps just flag again very briefly is that as we talk of the environmental diplomacy, I also want to let this audience know that formally the Cabinet of Kenya has now approved the sessional paper on diplomacy and given the go-ahead for it to be tabled in Parliament, which will happen next week when Parliament reopens, so that it goes through the first reading, and then it will be available for further conversation and debate by a wider cross-section of the Kenyan people and our partners. This time, we are making it clear that diplomacy is not an exclusive club. We want diplomacy mashinani. We want the people to understand what is our policy across various issues, and we want them to engage so that it is no longer a mystery that diplomats are seen carrying a briefcase into a plane, and then they are seen coming back, and they are assumed that they were just having a cocktail somewhere. Let us share in reality what is all this diplomacy about. It's also important to note that for Kenya's purpose, our constitution recognizes diplomacy or the foreign aspect as one of the arms or the pillars under the national security architecture. And if you look at Article 240 of the Constitution, it is very specific that it falls within that category. So Cabinet has also corrected an anomaly which has been lingering for a long time, because for some reason the foreign agenda was being regarded as just a normal administrative affair. And now it sits with clarity in accordance with the Constitution where it should have been for a very long time. So I thought this comes to you so that even within the framework of debates, we now fall within the security sector working group for planning purposes. So that is what I wanted to tell you. But there are other good things that we can do, and I want us to do together. I saw Joe Ageo here. I don't know that he's still within the room somewhere. Yeah, and I was just talking about, as we reflect on the demise of the Aga Khan, and we express our condolences to the Ismailia community and to his family as well. One of the things that the Aga Khan was pushing for was to partner with the county government of Nairobi so that they can preserve, protect, and make the city park more friendly the way Karura Forest has been made through partnership with other people. Perhaps as a befitting tribute, as you could have this conversation around the environment, this is something that can be advanced so that we can live on positive ideas that were mooted but were not executed. We still have an opportunity to carry that forward. And perhaps this is a very good moment so that Joe Argeo can help in rallying this message through his media house to galvanize support for this very, very noble cause to improve one of our very, very good parks in Nairobi, make it better, make it user-friendly, give it greater security so that people can walk the way it is when you do walk in Karura Forest. And that is where you pay tribute to the Wangare Maathais of this world and other partners who have really supported that. We also want to see protection of the Ngong forests and other areas, our national park. We want to see in far-flung places the Maragoli Hills rehabilitated in Western Kenya. We sometimes also forget that there are some politicians who may have caused trouble, but in their own way they were interesting. There was Kariuki Chotara. If you went to Naivasha today, you'll not believe that we politicians, as much as we can be rabble-rousers, Kariuki Chotara actually spearheaded the greening of, when you drive down to Naivasha and you see all those trees, he was at the center of planting that. So there, even from politicians, some good things do emerge. Then you can go to an elder like Mulu Mutisia with President Moi, and there was the famous Munyonyoko wa Udongo, the building of gabions and helping to rehabilitate degraded land. There were initiatives that perhaps were ridiculed, even by maybe not exactly social media. It was not as robust then. But some of these initiatives were being ridiculed and so forth, but give it to them. As unschooled as some of them may have been, they were actually conscious that protecting the environment was absolutely essential. And we need to go take a step back and pick up from some of these areas and make sure that we really protect our environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to be here to make a few remarks, and I wish you success as you deliberate on this very important issue. Thank you.